The learning target is I can calculate slope for a set of coordinates or given points on a coordinate plane. Part A, find the values of y in the set of x equals negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And the hint is we're going to use substitution. We're going to put the values of x 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 into the function rule of y equals 2x plus 4. And we're going to evaluate each x value to get the y value. So I substituted the values. The first one was 2 times 0 plus 1. 2 times 0 is 0 plus 1 gives you 1. So my first coordinate is going to be 0, 1. The next one I substituted the x and I evaluated 2 times 1 plus 1. 2 times 1 gives you 2 plus 1 is 3. Then we substituted the 2 in for the x. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. And then I did 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. And 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1 is 9. Now we're going to plot these coordinate pairs. The coordinate pair is an xy, so it's 0, 1. Your 0 represents x, and the 1 represents the y. We have the next coordinate pair, 1, 3. X is 1, y is 3. And so far and so forth. We go 2, 5, 3, 7, and 4, 9. Those are your coordinate pairs we're going to plot on the graph. If you look at the graph, you have a x-axis, which goes from left to right, and then you have a y-axis, which goes up and down. So now we're going to number the graph. So in order to plot these points, so now as you can see, I numbered from 1 to 10 on the x-axis and the y-axis. Now we're going to plot the first point, which is 0, 1. So x is 0 and y is 1, and I place my point. The next one is 1, 3. Then it's 2, 5, 3, 7, 4, 9. So now we're going to connect the dots. So I go down and we're going to connect them. Hold on. So the dots are connected. We drew a line and we put an arrow at the end because if we went on, if we substituted with any more values of x, the line would go on and on. So now we have to write the function rule, which is y equals 2x plus 1, because in future lessons we will be plotting more than one line, and we have to make sure we can identify the line, so we write the function rule on it. Now we're going to the next slide. So now we're going to define what slope of a line is, and then we're going to list what we know about slope of lines, graph below, and then we're going to answer the question, where have you heard the term slope used in real life, and what did it mean? Well, to define the slope of a line, it's the slant or the steepness of a line. So if we look at the first picture down below, we can see from left to right that the line is increasing. So if it's increasing, it's a positive slope. You could see that the little animal is trying to ride up the hill. It's a positive slope and it's pointing upward. left to right, the line is increasing in an upward direction. Now if we look at the second one, he is going downward. So he's going down the hill. That's a negative slope. It's going downward, decreasing from left to right. Now if we look at the third picture, it's a horizontal line. The little animal is riding his bike on a constant slope. It doesn't change. It's neither going up or neither going down. It's just going straight, horizontally, constant slope. This is called zero slope. And if you look at the last one, it's a vertical line. This is like going up the hill, and then you want to come down the hill, but there's no hill and you fall off. This is called no slope, vertical line, and it's also referred to as an undefined slope. Now we're going to look at these two examples, and it says look at each line graph below, which is steeper. If you look at A, from left to right, it's going upward. It's definitely a positive slope. And that's what they're asking. What type of slope does each line have? They want to know that too. And then if we look at B, it's also a positive slope because going from left to right, it's increasing. It's going upward. But they want to know which one is steeper. Well, you could see that B is steeper. How did I know that? Because if I look at the lines and if I was walking or riding my bike, which line would it be harder to get to the top? And it would be B. So B is steeper. So we're going to write that down for ourselves. Up here, we'll write B is steeper. And then what type of slope? Both A and B are positive. Slopes. And how did we know? Increasing from left to right. Okay, let's go to our next slide. And again, they said look at each line graph below, which is steeper, and then they want to know what type of slope does each line have. Well, you could see from left to right, A is going downward. It's decreasing, so it's a negative slope. And so is B. B is also decreasing from left to right. But which one is steeper? Well, if I had to go downhill, A would get me down there quicker because it's on a steeper incline. So let's write that down, that A is steeper. And then they want to know what kind of slopes. They're negative, both of them. And how did we know? The line is decreasing from left to right. It's going on a downward position. Let's go to our next slide. There are two ways to find the slope of a line. The slope of the line is referred to M. So slope of the line equals M. Slope M equals rise over run. Rise goes up and down, so I'm going to draw an arrow for up and down in both directions. And the run goes from left to right. You use rise over run when 2 points are given on a graph. And it's known as the vertical change over the horizontal change, or the delta y over the delta x, which means just the change in y over the change in x. This is what we're basically going to focus on in this lesson. And then we have the second way, which is slope m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is when 2 points are given without a graph. For instance, 2, 1, and 0, -3. But first, we're going to look at the graph. And we are going to do the rise over run. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to write m, sorry, that's an m, equals rise over run equals. So now I go to the first point, which is here, and it's 0, 3, but I'm going to go to the next point. So I have to go up and over to the right. This is my rise. Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4. I rose 4. So I write 4 in an upward direction. Going up is positive. Let's go to the right, 2. That's my run. And that's why it's positive. So now we go back to the formula. My rise was 4 up, so it's 4 over 2. Because my run is 2, which reduces to 2 over 1. Or we write, that's the word or, m equals 2. The reason we didn't put the 1 underneath is because all whole numbers are over 1. But when we do slope, whenever you see a whole number, please, there's a 1 underneath it. This means I went up 2, 1 to the right, or up 4, 2 to the right. Now, this is going to be shown in the next lesson, but I'm going to show you it. It's x1, y1. We labeled the points, our coordinate points, and this is my x2, y2. Let me fix this too. Now, what happens is the formula says m equals y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. This is my first set of x's and my second set of coordinate pairs. Sorry, first set of xy, second set of xy. So now we're going to put it in the formula. These were the coordinates of the points on the graph. y2 is -3. Minus is part of the formula. And my y1 is 1. Over x2 is 0. x1 is 2. So minus is part of the formula, so it's -2. -3 minus 1 is -4. 0 minus -2 is -2. A fraction is division, so negative divided by negative is a positive, so now we get a 4 over 2, which reduces to 2 over 1, or 2. So you can see using rise over run or using the formula, you can get the same slope. But today, this lesson is focusing on rise over run. So we look at this, does it matter which point I start with? If I look at the first picture on the left, you see the boy running, or the person running to the right, and then he's going down 6. So my run, because it goes from left to right, my run was 7 to the right, and down, my rise, he went down 6, so I went down 6, -6. I know it's a negative slope because from left to right, the line is going downward. Let's look at the next one. We started at the bottom and going up, so he rose a 6, and then he went to the left 7. These both slopes are the same because a -6 over 7 or 6 over -7 are the same. When one of either the numerator or the denominator, if one of them is negative, the other one's positive, it's negative. Because a fraction means division, a negative divided by positive is negative. So we also could write this slope as -6 sevenths. All three mean the same thing. Let's go to the next slide. Does the line graph have a positive or a negative slope, justify your answer. So if I look from left to right, it's increasing, it's upward. So I know it's a positive slope. How did I know? It's because it's increasing and it's going increasing from left to right and it's pointing upward. So now they're asking us to find the slope of the line graphed. So we're going to use M, hold on, let me put my pen on, sorry. M equals rise over run. So here we go. I go to this point, I go up. Okay, so let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I went 7 upwards. That was my rise. Let's go to the run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I went 10 to the right. So I go back. My rise means did I go up or down? I went 7 up, so it's positive. My run is left to right. I went right, so it's 10 positive. Draw a line with a slope of 0 on the graph. Let me change my color ink. So a horizontal line is with a slope of 0. We have to draw a horizontal line, but I'm going to write that it's a horizontal line. So we could pick anywhere. I'm going to pick here, draw a horizontal line. You make sure you put arrows at both ends. I know the slope is 0. It's at a constant. It's not going up or down. Okay, let's go to the next one. And it says, does the line graph have a positive or negative slope? Justify your answer. It's going downward. It's decreasing from left to right. So I'm going to circle negative. And now I'm going to justify my answer. Now they would like us to find the slope. So again, we're going to use rise over run. Let me get my ink. So I'm going to write M equals rise over run. So I go down 1 and I go to the right to get to my next point. So I went down 1 and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. My run is 4 to the right. So my rise was down 1. So when it goes down, it goes negative. I went down negative 1. And I went 4 to the right. So my slope is negative 1/4. So now they're asking us to draw a undefined slope. And an undefined slope is a vertical line. So I'm going to write that down for ourselves so we know vertical line. So here we go. I'm going to pick over here. It says anywhere. So I'll draw a nice vertical line here. This is undefined because all undefined lines are vertical. Sorry about that. And I would write undefined. And another name for that is no slope. Okay. Now we're going to go to the next slide, and it says, calculate the rise and run to find the slope of each line. I look at the first one from left to right. It's a positive slope because it's increasing. So now I'm going to do my rise over run. So I go to the first point, and I go up and to the right. So let's see what our rise is. I'm going up. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I went up 4. My run is 2 to the right. So my rise, I went up 4, and I went 2 to the right, which reduces to 2 over 1, or we can write our slope is 2. The next one I can see from left to right, it's going downward, it's decreasing, so it's negative. So I'm going to start here, go down, now to get to the next point, which is here. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I went 5 down. My run, I'm going to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise was 5 down. It's a negative 5. And it's 4 to the right. But it's still a negative slope because it's negative 5/4. The next one, number 3, I look from left to right. It's increasing. I know it's going to be a positive slope. I'm going from this, up this point and to the next, to the right. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. My rise, I went up 7, and I went 5 to the right. Next slide. Look at each line graph below, which is steeper. Well, looking at it, if they're both positive, so let's look at A. From left to right, it goes upward, it's increasing, and B also from left to right, it's increasing. But which is steeper? If you had to walk up one of these lines, B is steeper. So let's write that down. B is steeper. Now, circle it. It says calculate the slope of graph A. So I'm going to change the color because the lines are green. I'm going to go with another color. Here we go. I'm going to use the formula. M equals rise over run. So let me see. We're going to go up and over. See how much we went up. 1, 2, 3. I went up 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I went 5 to the right. So your rise means up or down. I went up 3. My run means left to right. I went 5 to the right. Let's try this next one. Let's see B. Okay, here we go. I have to write M equals rise over run. Now let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I went 6 up. And let me see. 1, 2. And 2 to the right. So my rise, which means up or down, I went up 6. My run is left to right. I went right 2. This can be reduced to 3 over 1 or 3. They want to know which is steeper. We originally said B, but we also could tell that it's steeper by its slope. What connection can you make between slope and the steepness of a line? The larger the slope, the steeper the line. So if we look, 3/5 or 3. 3 is larger than 3/5, so it's the steeper line, which is B, and that's what we saw before also. We came to that conclusion by looking if we had to walk up that hill. Let's look at the next one. Let's look at these lines. From left to right, A is negative, it's decreasing, and so is B. But which one is steeper? It's definitely A, because if you were coming down, you can come down this line quicker than B. So let's write that A is steeper. Now they want us to calculate the slope, so we do m equals rise over run. So let's see. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I went down 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 to the right. So my rise, did I go up or down? I went down 7, so it's a negative 7. And I ran 4 to the right. It's positive there. So it's a negative 7/4, and it is a negative slope. Let's do here. M equals rise over run. So let's see. I go down and over. So I went down 2. And let's see, to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I went 8 to the right. So rise, what did you do? I went down 2, so it's a negative 2. And 8 to the right. And that reduces to negative 1/4. If you look at the numbers, it doesn't matter if they're positive or negative when it comes to steepness. 7/4 is larger than 1/4. So this has a steeper slope. You look at the numbers. The negative is just representing what kind of line is it. If it's a positive, it's increasing. If it's negative, it's a decreasing line. But the slopes, you just look at the numbers. 7/4 is larger than 1/4, so it's steeper, and indeed, it is a steeper negative line. So what connection? You just look at the numbers. The larger the number, the larger the slope, the steeper the line. Go to the next slide. Which is steeper, a line with a slope of 6 or a line with a slope of 3? 6 is larger than 3, so it's definitely slope of 6, excuse me, is steeper. A slope of -5 or a line with the slope of -2. They're both negative slopes. You don't look at the negative, you just look at the number, because the larger the slope number, the negative is not telling you it's smaller by a number. It's just telling you what direction the line is going. So it's a slope of -5. It's steeper. This next one we have to correct. Line with a slope of 3 or a line with a slope of -3, they have the same slope. So they both have the same steepness. Because it doesn't matter whether it's a positive or negative, that's just telling which direction the line is going, but they have the same steepness. Okay, now, I like to do this fast finisher. I think it's a very good one because it shows you also which is steeper by the number. Which is steeper, a line with a slope of -8 or a line with +6? It doesn't matter whether it's a positive or negative slope. That's just telling you the direction of the line. So you look at the numbers, and 8 is steeper than 6 because it's a larger number. So slope of -8 is steeper. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. On the following graph, draw a line with a slope of 0. I'm going to make a line from here, and a 0 slope is called 0. Slope, horizontal line. So now we're going to draw a line anywhere. Let's draw it over here. A horizontal line. Make sure you put arrows. And I would like to write that the slope is 0. Then they want us to draw a line with an undefined slope. Let me change the ink. Okay, so I'm going to make a line here and write, let me put a little arrow, undefined is a vertical line. We could draw it anywhere. Let's draw it right here. And its M is undefined. Now we're going to go to the next page. On the following graph, draw a line with a slope of 1/2. Start at the point provided on the graph. Look at the slope. How much are we going to rise? How much are we going to run? And use the rise and run to continue the line all the way to the end of the page. Okay, well, I'm going to do this first. I'm going to write M equals rise over run. I know my rise is 1 and my 2 is the run. So I have to go up 1 and 2 to the right. So we start here, up 1, 2 to the right. Make a dot. Up 1, 2 to the right. 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 Now we're going to connect this line. And you make sure you put an arrow at the end because that means it goes on to infinity. Now I'm going to go back to my ink because we're going to do the next one now. So now we'll go to the next slide. Draw a line with a slope of 3/2. Start at any point you want. Look at the slope. How much are we going to rise? How much are we going to run? And use the rise and run to continue the line all the way until the end of the graph. Again, M equals rise over run, which equals 3/2. I think I'm going to start right here. So I have to go up 3, 2 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 2 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 to the right. Sorry, guys. 1, 2, 3, 2 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 2 to the right. So it can go. Now I'm going to connect them. Okay. Now we'll come back to our ink. And you'll see there's an arrow at the end of the line. Let's go to the next slide. We're at our exit slip. What is the slope of the line passing through points A and B as shown on the graph below? If I look at the graph from left to right, it's decreasing. So it's definitely going to have a negative slope. So I do not need this one because it's positive and this one is positive. C and D are out. Just by looking at the picture, I could tell it's going to be a negative slope. So I went from 4 choices down to 2. So now I'm going to do rise over run. Let me get the pen here. Rise over run for my slope. Well, let's see. Let's draw the line. And now let's count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. My rise, I went down 10. My run, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I went 5 to the right. So let's fill this out. My rise, I went down 10, so it's a negative 10. I went 5 to the right. It reduces to negative 2 over 1, which equals negative 2, and it's choice A. Summary. So let's see. The formula we were using was M equals rise over run. We can identify a positive slope. It's increasing from left to right. So if it's on the graph, it goes upwards. Let's do a negative slope. Again, we have our coordinate plane, and it's going downward. So it's decreasing from left to right. I have to extend my page. 1 second. Then we have what's called a zero slope, horizontal line. So here is your coordinate plane, and it's a horizontal line. And then we have no slope, which usually referred to as undefined. It's a vertical line. And here's your vertical line.